The first contact protocol of the Lithari Concord was built on certainty. Certainty that no intelligent species capable of crossing the void would arrive in violence. Certainty that reason would always precede fear. Certainty that peace was the natural state of the stars. When the human delegation arrived at the edge of the Hesperus system, those certainties felt justified. Their ships were modest, their transmissions careful, their diplomats soft-spoken and precise. They requested a neutral orbit, shared linguistic keys, and waited for 3 cycles. The Lithari ambassadors met with the humans through light delay holorelays. They spoke of trade, of mutual curiosity, of the vast emptiness between stars that begged to be shared. The humans smiled often, nodded frequently, and asked many questions. Admiral Threx of the Concord Defense Fleet watched from a distant command station. He noted the absence of war signatures, the lack of weapon flares, the almost fragile hull profiles of the Terran escort vessels. If these were warriors, he thought, they hid it well. The Lithari people began to celebrate. Songs were composed before ink dried on treaties. Markets prepared human districts filled with art and spice. Children practiced reading phrases in awkward Terran phonemes. Then came the anomaly. A ripple passed through the gravity lattice at the system's dark edge. It was subtle enough to be mistaken for background noise, subtle enough that automated sensors flagged it, but did not alarm. Admiral Threx noticed anyway. His species had evolved beneath a volatile sun. An instinct had taught them that danger whispered before it screamed. He ordered a passive scan, then another. Nothing appeared. No mass, no heat plume, no energy wake. And yet, the ripple repeated. Closer this time. The human ambassador paused mid-sentence during the next diplomatic exchange. Her eyes shifted slightly, unfocused, as if listening to something beyond the room. She smiled again a moment later and continued speaking. That was when Threx felt it. Not fear, not yet, but the unmistakable pressure of something enormous pressing against the veil of perception, like a predator circling just beyond sight. He requested clarification from the Terrans about unregistered fleet movements. The ambassador answered smoothly, stating that no additional vessels were present. Her voice did not change, but her breathing did. Across the system, Concord sensors flickered. Stars bent fractionally out of alignment. Space itself seemed to hold its breath. First contact, Admiral Threx realized too late, was not over yet. The Lithari Defense Fleet went to elevated readiness without public announcement. Shields warmed. Crews reported to battle stations under the guise of routine drills. No one wanted to alarm the civilian population during what was supposed to be a historic celebration. Admiral Threx opened a direct channel to the human diplomatic ship. He spoke carefully, choosing words that implied curiosity rather than accusation. Once again, the Terrans denied any hidden presence. This time, however, their sensor data told a different story. Human ships were adjusting position by micrometers. Thrusters fired in patterns too subtle for coincidence. They were aligning with something unseen. The ripple returned, stronger now. Gravitational shear distorted light near the outer system. A void-shaped absence began to form. Lithari scientists whispered impossible theories. A mass that refused detection. A vessel existing. Between moments, a weaponized absence. The humans stopped smiling. Ambassador Hawley finally spoke the words Admiral Threx had been dreading. "There is a Terran asset entering your space," she said calmly. "It will not interfere unless provoked." Threx demanded specifications. Hawley hesitated, then answered with brutal honesty. "It is a warship." The word carried weight beyond language. The Concord had known conflict, but never on a scale implied by the way the humans spoke. Warship, not cruiser, not patrol craft, but something singular, deliberate, final. The ripple collapsed inward. Space folded like fabric pulled through a ring, and something vast began to emerge, even before it was visible. Lithari crews felt it in their bones, a pressure-like proximity to a stellar core. Sensors screamed as systems struggled to assign meaning to the impossible mass unfolding before them. The ship did not appear all at once. It phased into reality layer by layer, armor plates the size of cities, weapon housings that warped the vacuum around them. When the decloaking completed, silence fell across every channel. The Terran Warship eclipsed a nearby moon. Its hull was scarred, not from neglect, but from survival. Each mark a memory of battles, fought far from friendly stars. A single transmission echoed across all frequencies. "This is the Terran Warship. Resolute. We acknowledge your presence. Do not interfere." Admiral Threx understood then that peace had not summoned this ship. Fear had. Asterisk, the Resolute did not maneuver aggressively. It simply existed, an immovable fact inserted into Lithari reality. Admiral Threx ordered all weapons cold. Any hostile action would have been suicide, and everyone knew it. The warship's power output exceeded the Concorde fleet by orders of magnitude. Lithari analysts scrambled to understand Terran doctrine. Why bring such a weapon to a peaceful meeting? Why hide it until the moment of revelation? The answer came from the humans themselves. Ambassador Holly requested permission to explain. Her tone was no longer diplomatic, but weary, as if she had carried this truth for far too long. Humanity, she said, had learned the cost of optimism. Their first contacts had not been peaceful. They had trusted smiles and open hands. They had buried worlds as a result. The Resolute was not here to threaten the Concorde. It was here to ensure survival. Every Terran diplomatic mission traveled with a shadow, a guardian that remained unseen unless absolutely necessary. Threx listened as centuries of human history unfolded. Coalitions betrayed, ceasefires broken, extermination fleets disguised as traders. Again and again. Humans had learned that appearing weak invited annihilation. So they adapted. They built ships that could end wars before they began. They learned to hide them where only instinct could. Since their presence, the Lithari were silent. Their worldview cracked under the weight of that revelation. Peace, they realized, was a privilege of the untested. The Resolute transmitted records of its past engagements. Entire armadas shattered in minutes, weapons that rewrote orbital mechanics, defensive systems that turned supernova into manageable hazards. Yet it had not fired, not once. It waited. Patient as a loaded gravity well, Admiral Threx addressed the Terran warship directly, asking what condition would trigger its intervention. The reply was immediate. Any threat to Terran life or allied delegates, any attempt at coercion, any betrayal of the terms spoken in good faith. The simplicity was terrifying. In that moment, Threx understood that humanity's greatest weapon was not the Resolute. It was restraint forged through suffering. Asterisk, not all within the Concorde shared Admiral Threx's caution. A faction of militarists viewed the Terran warship as an existential threat. They argued that allowing such power within their space set a dangerous precedent. Without authorization, a rogue task group began charging weapons. Their commanders believed a show of force would compel the humans to withdraw. They underestimated how closely the Resolute was watching. The warship reacted before the first capacitor reached full charge. It did not fire. Instead, it shifted position by a fraction of a degree. That movement alone disabled the task group. Localized gravitational spikes crushed weapon mounts. Electromagnetic pulses fried targeting arrays. Ships drifted powerless, intact but helpless. No lives were lost. The message was unmistakable. Admiral Threx ordered the immediate arrest of the rogue commanders. Then he transmitted a formal apology to the Terrans. Ambassador Halle accepted it with visible relief. The Resolute remained silent. Its silence now felt deliberate, almost respectful. Public reaction across the Concorde was chaotic. Fear warred with awe. But something unexpected followed. Understanding. Citizens saw that the Terrans had not come to conquer. They had come prepared to survive, and when tested, they chose mercy over annihilation. Diplomatic talks resumed, this time with fewer illusions. Terms were rewritten with clearer boundaries. Mutual defense clauses were added. Transparency became policy rather than courtesy. The Resolute stayed cloaked once more, but everyone knew. It was there, a reminder rather than a threat. Asterisk, years later. Historians would mark the decloaking of the Resolute as the true moment of first contact. Not the handshakes, not the ceremonies, but the revelation of truth. The Concorde and humanity grew into cautious allies. Joint patrols, protected trade lanes, shared research, unlocked new sciences. Each side respected the other's scars. The Terrans never deployed the Resolute again in Concorde space. They did not need to. Trust, once forged honestly, proved stronger than fear. Admiral Threx, long retired, would often gaze at the stars and reflect. Peace, he realized, was not the absence of weapons. It was the presence of understanding. And, somewhere beyond perception, a Terran warship still watched the dark, not waiting for war, but ensuring that peace was never defenseless.